Dr.Jackie's here, changing life loving you. Yeah, that's the groove, life loving you. Feel the truth, move, life loving you. It's all we do, come on through, it's just for you.
Jacqueline Del Rosario, and when I think about marriage and relationships, what I think about was really my parents and my own family, seeing us as a unit and watching us go through life together. And also on our block, there were other families. So I kind of got to see how different my family was from other people's family. And then I also got to see what my family compared to in terms of television. It's really interesting in those times. I don't think I'm really living out what I thought that marriage would be, only because my ideals about marriage were really made from television. It was based on what I saw, and it was kind of mixed in with what I saw my parents doing. So sometimes I would even measure what I saw them doing and living juxtaposed to what I saw on television. You watch Leave It to Beaver and all of these old shows from the 70s and 80s, and everything seemed to be so easily summed up in a bow. I would see my parents sometimes argue. My parents were very affectionate, so I got to see the wide range of their organic relationship play out before us. And so now that I'm married, I realize getting married, I love this man so much, but it was terrifying for me to say yes, because my mind just flooded with all these ideas about what could go wrong and how do I know that I know how to do this thing right. And I realized I really didn't know. So we talk about how I became this informal researcher, which was studying relationships and just trying to find the right solutions or the right answers. And I wasn't sure that I quite nailed it when it was time for me to get married. So over the arc of my relationship, I've been married for 31 years now, I was able to figure a lot of things out. I realized that marriage wasn't what I thought it was after I got married. So now, first off, my parents had talked to me about my wedding from the time I was a little girl. So I'm getting married, planning this fabulous wedding, 250 people, no expense was spared. I booked a honeymoon on this so-called fabulous ship. Well, we get to the ship, we get on board, and I'm noticing all these people getting on in wheelchairs or walkers. That was the beginning of me understanding that something was awry. Well, I later figured out that it was a World War II ship that had been converted into a cruise ship. Not exactly the honeymoon that I had in mind. Well, we get on, we're eating dinner at a table where some people were so old they had to literally suck up their dinner through a straw. It was really bad. I got seasick, and I'm vomiting the entire trip. So it wasn't the honeymoon that I thought I was gonna have. That was the beginning of what I was hoping wasn't a bad omen, So I remember when my parents picked us up from the pier, they were like, oh, they don't look happy. I was so sick, I lost like 3 pounds. That was the beginning. And then I would say, that was the beginning of me understanding that marriage wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And then the first year or so was really pretty tumultuous. So in love, it was like these highs and then these lows. It was this high, like feigning for my husband. Couldn't wait till I got off from work because I just couldn't wait to get together. And oh, it was so passionate and so hot. And then we would also have these flaming hot arguments. And I realized, I knew it was me. I had a lot of shall we say, issues in my tissues regarding relationship and being all in and being surrendered to it. I had a lot of fear factors. So, it was hard at first. And I remember one time my dad said to me, Jackie, what are you doing? What are you gonna do? And so it caused me to kind of, get to my senses and stop fighting to win and just working things out. But that was the beginning. I realized that marriage really wasn't this wonderful movie that you see. It wasn't picture perfect, but that it was organic and it was real. And if you have someone that you love and you're in it to win it, it's wonderful. I definitely believe that basically anybody can master the art of marriage. Here's the problem though. If you come really broken and fragmented, you might have a lot of work to do, more than the average person. So I definitely believe that the work begins with you first. But I think anybody can master it because it's just like a science. You want to be a great swimmer. guess what? You learn how to do it. You go and you get a coach and you learn the form and you learn how to work out how to eat and how to do that thing. Marriage is no different. It is an activity that you commit to, and there are rules and regulations that govern it. So I really believe anybody can do it to win it, as long as you find the right person, somebody that's compatible with you, that you're committed to doing the work that it's going to take, and that you don't give up. I remember thinking about my parents, their marriage. I mean, it wasn't perfect. As a matter of fact, I remember the first time that I realized that relationships hurt was this somber moment. I was fast asleep and something awakened me. And in the middle of the night, I'm laying still in my bed and I'm listening and I'm hearing somebody's voice sobbing. But the sob was not just a regular sob. It was so pain-filled. I'd never heard anybody cry like that. I've fallen off my bike at that age. I was so young. I've hurt myself really badly. Never heard that kind of a cry, though. It came from a place that I really didn't understand. And then as I stilled myself to hear better, I heard a woman say, "Why? Why did you do it?" And I realized it was my mother's voice. Even though it was disguised by such deep pain, I really realized it was her voice. And my mind was flooded because I'm thinking, what in the world did my dad do to hurt my mom like that? But I'm just a little child. So I wanted to jump out of my bed and say, "Daddy, why did you hurt mommy like that?" But, as what happens to most of us, things happen when we're too young to deal with it. I just laid in the bed and thought and figured out what I might say to my dad tomorrow. But tomorrow never came. The next day I watched them and I studied what was happening and just wanting to understand. But that's what awakened in me, this desire that I had all of my life to figure out interpersonal and romantic relationships. Because I realized at that age, we rise or we fall on a good or a bad relationship. And that when we do them wrong, they can create a lot of pain. And if we're blessed enough to do them properly, they can just be a great source of joy. My marriage, I think, started off wonderfully because of two things. First of all, I stumbled onto the right man. I call him Bear. All of my family know he's Bear. Vincent Del Rosario was this man that I met that I call my twin. We both were so much alike. But now, our personalities are different, but we're very much alike. Our direction, what we believe in, what we stand for, our goals in the future, just very, very similar. And he had a propensity for me, a capacity, because I ain't always easy. But what I realized about him was he has no judgment. I don't care what I do, good or bad. My husband does not judge me. If it's a bad day, he'll let me go so far before he says, "Jackie." And when he says Jackie in that slow tone with that deep baritone voice, I know, pull it in. I know to get my stuff together. So he's very patient, and I love that. But he's so supportive of everything that I do that I don't feel that I have to edit myself. I feel good in my own skin. No editing. So I married the right person. That's the first thing. Then the second success to the reason why it was so successful is because we discussed everything. We talked about every hypothetical situation that could possibly happen across these different domains that I later created into my philosophy around my work. I mean, we talked for hours, months on end. What would you do if this happened? So guess what? When conflict did arise, we already knew what we were supposed to do. We just did according to what we had already purposed we would do, because it was already discussed. So there were no surprises. That is the secret punch that I like to share with couples. Teach them how to iron out the wrinkles or develop like a constitution for their relationship before you get in it. Why sweat the small stuff, trying to figure it out on the fly when you can already understand, well, this is their perspective on that. This is my perspective on it. Let's find out how are we going to manage those things. So those two things. And then because we also love each other and we have the strong commitment to one another that no matter how rocky things might get, we've decided that we're going to fight it out. We're going to fight it through until we get to a place of resolve. So those are, to me, the commitment to do the work, the fact that I found a suitable mate, and then also the fact that we kind of worked things out. We had a blueprint for our relationship before we got in. I remember when I was in college, I always wanted to be married at just a really young age. I never wanted to date. Didn't like dating, didn't want to have anything to do with it, but I really wanted to be married, really wanted to be a mother, and that was just my perspective. So I was what you would consider to be a late bloomer. Didn't date a lot, didn't enjoy it, but I remember that I started to realize that the thing for me was to learn how to make good decisions. And so as I thought about that, I started thinking, what is it that makes me make wrong decisions? And I kind of figured out that in terms of romantic relationships or interpersonal relationships, I had a fear of being alone. And so when I thought about it, I realized, so that means, like, say you go out with some guy, you met that peckerhead on a Wednesday, he took you out on Thursday, and you realize, like, cut, there's no need to even go further with him. So I would already say that in my mind. Then say Friday came. You're by yourself, you don't have anything to do. Saturday comes. Guess what? He calls you. And if you're like I was, afraid of being alone, when he calls, you're thinking maybe it's better to be with the peckerhead than to be by yourself. And so I remember I realized that. I was like, my God, I have a fear of being alone. And I didn't know what to do to overcome it. But I realized that I had to deal with anything that would undercut my ability to make good relationships. So the first one was being abstinent. I didn't want to have sex because I didn't want that clouding my judgment, or more so, not clouding the guy's judgment about whether I was really the person for him. The other one was the fear of being alone. So what I did is I had a dorm on campus. I moved off campus, lived with a friend of mine, just so that I could seclude. So I would literally, they were newlyweds, they weren't talking to anybody. They would come home, go in their room and shut the door. So then here's Jackie all by herself, sitting with my thoughts. Every day I would do that. And then I remember it was torturous, but I would start to replay my life, replay the situation that I had just gotten through that broke my heart, literally. And I started to comb through some things. And things started to make sense. It's like the longer that I did it, after the first week that was so difficult, I started looking forward to leaving campus, going to this secluded place, and locking in with me. As I did it over time, I started getting the answers. It's like those blanks started being filled in, and I started getting understanding of where I zigged left when I should have zigged right, that I should have done this and not that. And life started making sense to me. And I began to really understand who I was, what my superpowers were. And I learned also what it was that I really wanted. What did I like about this relationship? What was it that worked for me? But I also figured out the things that didn't work. And I began to really love myself at a deeper level. And I felt as if I became fit for marriage. It's like when I emerged from that place, I emerged understanding who I was and what it was going to really take to make Jackie happy. And see, what it takes for each person is really different. But that really did make a difference for me. So now I'm in love with Jackie. Now I'm loving spending time with her. And it occurred to me, if I like spending time with me, other people will too. If I don't, it's questionable. But that made me fit for Vincent Del Rosario when I met him. And when I did meet him, I remember what happened was we were moving back on campus. You know how it is. School's about to start, so we move on a couple of weeks early. You register for your classes. So everybody's starting to party. And my roommates, they were all international students. They used to call me Miss International, yeah. But I'm settling in for the evening. They all had their boyfriends coming down. Says, hey, you have a car. Could you drop us somewhere? We want to go to this party. And I was like, I'll drop you. And they were like, no, don't drop us after all. Get dressed, we want you to come too. I don't want to come, I told them. Just call me when you're ready or tell me a time, I'll be there and pick you up. Long and short, they begged me until I finally got dressed to go. So you know how it is. You don't really want to be there. I'm in the corner, and hey, you want to dance? No, thank you. Hey, mama, You want to dance? No, no thanks. Finally, this guy comes up. Hey, would you like to dance? No thanks. And he stands there and starts talking to me, introduces himself. Next thing I know, like 45 minutes had passed, and he's still talking to me. And I'm having a ball. I felt like I'd known this guy forever. We clicked. And I said, you know what? I don't mind dancing now. And that was the beginning. That was the art or the dance that I began to have with my husband in this 31-year-old marriage. I wasn't sure if he was ready for me. So I remember when he wanted to use the L word, I was like, whoa, because I was like, you don't even know me. I was actually upset about it. I love you. How could you love me? You've only known me for this amount of time. But I don't know. It was the fear speaking. But it was also that I like to see. I don't want to hear what people say. Show me. If you love me, show me. I prefer to make my decisions based on what people do, because doing is more true. It's easy to say anything, but what you do speaks volumes to me. But I realized from the time that I met him, I said, man, this guy is so pure. You know, you meet somebody that they haven't been through a lot. So you can tell like their life is still innocent and clean. He didn't have a lot of hang-ups. He didn't have a lot of insecurities and things like I was working through. So I almost felt when I first met him like, man, I'm too rough and ragged for this person, you know. But I knew from the time that I met him that he was going to make someone a wonderful husband. I just didn't know at the moment that it was me. We dated for a very short period of time. And I had this experience in my life that really made me very, very focused. And I decided, you know what? This isn't a good time for me. And so I broke it off. And plus he was already in love, and I wasn't really, with that at that particular time. But every year around my birthday, I would get this set of flowers. We're born like 10 days apart. I'm July 9th, he's July 19th. So over and over again, every year we would get together during certain periods of the time to go to the youth fair around my birthday. But over time, I said to him, I started to notice my heart was starting to love him. I was starting to feel things for him. But I just kept it at a distance because I didn't know where he was. An accident kind of brought that full circle. I had a car accident. Now, I'm on the side of the road. Back then there were quarters and payphones. And I'm dialing. Then I finally run out of quarters, so I call one person. And I asked she was one of my staff, to just call this litany of people. We could not find anybody home to come and pick me up. Guess who picks up the phone? Vincent, AKA Bear. He didn't go to school that night, so he was home. And he came and picked me up. And that kind of it reintroduced me to seeing him regularly versus like here and there throughout the year. And I realized that the time was right. He'd made a lot of transitions. He was very settled. But really the real person that I felt was ready was me. I think he was ready all along. He's very level-headed, very intentional, hadn't been beat up a lot by life, and I felt like I had a couple of heartbreaks that were making me afraid to say yes. I tell people that I know that they're ready to get married when they can give me a very intelligent list. Most people that aren't ready, that haven't had that experience that gives depth to what I need to be happy, it's very different. It's very surfacey. They'll say, I want this, I want that. And it's just, usually when you have a list of about 10 to 15 things that are very important. And you're able to chronologically put them in the order of their importance. And they're not surface. They're very intentional, they're deep, and they're packed with purpose and reason. So I know someone's ready when they have that list. When they're still all over the place, they haven't figured it out yet. I believe when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Well, I remember when I told my husband to be, we were dating at the time. So I'm still in college. And this is the time he tried to lean in to get a kiss. And I was like, sorry, I don't do that. And he was like, do what? And I was like, I don't kiss. We're not an item. We're not exclusive. I don't do that. And he goes, So I was like, and I don't have sex either. And he kind of did like that. And he kind of looked. I was like, Yeah. And so this is when I knew that I had met somebody really important that was beyond a coincidence, because he repeated back to me exactly what I had said to myself when I decided that I was going to abstain. He said, you know, he wasn't happy. Now, don't get me wrong. He wasn't like smiling like, oh, this is great. I want to play that song. You know, no, this is what he said. He was like, And then he sat there and he thought about it for a while. And then he said, you know what? If you think you have to do it, then you have to do it. He says, I can do that. And so I just kind of sat back and I was like, okay. That was the beginning. That's when I kind of knew that we were on to something. But this is what he did like the next day. He came by and he gave me this, it was a CD. Yeah, I know I'm dating myself, but whatever. It was a CD. And it was from George Benson, I Just Want to Hang Around You. And so the song, the lyrics are basically saying, that's enough for me. You're all of that. I just want to hang around you. And that became our song from his perspective. My song was Chaka Khan, Through the Fire, because I fell so madly in love with this man that I was willing to go through the fire, whatever it took. Makes me blush thinking about it. Hey, Dr. Jacquie here. I'm your how-to lady. How to do life, how to do love, and how to do you, boo. So click, like, and subscribe. Stay tuned for more to come.